All right, let's jump right into this explainer and unravel the hidden and honestly, surprisingly political systems that govern our daily clocks. You know, we look at our watches and our phones dozens of times a day, right? And we just trust the time they display as this absolute, unquestionable fact of nature. But the truth is, the time on your screen is entirely a human invention. It's shaped by this wildly complex web of history, power, and geography. To really understand the chaotic reality of modern time, we have to start by asking a pretty basic question. Why does our global time map look so jagged and messy rather than perfectly straight? I mean, if time was purely mathematical, based entirely on the Earth's rotation and the sun, our map would literally just be sliced into 24 perfectly vertical, identical columns. But if you've ever actually looked at a global time zone map, it looks like a giant puzzle put together by someone who threw away the picture on the box. Lines zig and zag, they bend around entire countries, and sometimes they just ignore geography altogether. And because of those jagged lines, you get some truly wild situations. Imagine your alarm going off at 10 a.m. You've had a full night's sleep, it's time to start the workday, but you look out the window and the stars are still shining. The sun literally won't rise for another hour. Now, this bizarre morning darkness isn't some sci-fi concept. It is a totally normal, daily reality for people living in Kashgar in Western China. It perfectly illustrates our time zone mystery. So how does a geographical anomaly like this actually happen in the modern world? Well, to figure that out, we really need to look at how we started standardizing time in the first place.
Which brings us to a quick look at the history of global time. Picture this. Before the 19th century, every single town kept its own local solar time. High noon was simply when the sun reached its absolute highest point in the sky right where you happened to be standing. And honestly, that was perfectly fine when people only traveled by horse. But when the railways exploded across continents in the 1800s, it created absolute chaos. You could travel just a few hundred miles and pass through dozens of slightly different local times, which led to disastrous train collisions and total scheduling nightmares. Eventually, a Canadian engineer named Sir Sandford Fleming proposed a worldwide system of standard time zones. That idea caught on and led directly to the 1884 conference, where the world basically agreed, okay, let's set the global baseline at the Royal Observatory in Greenwich, London.
That historical agreement laid the groundwork for our next major shift, the move to UTC. You see, UTC, or Coordinated Universal Time, eventually replaced the old, outdated GMT standard for scientific timekeeping. It grounds the entire planet to a single, highly coordinated baseline. While GMT was based on astronomical observations from just that one single point on Earth, UTC relies on a highly precise network of atomic clocks distributed all across the globe. And here's a fun fact, it's occasionally adjusted by leap seconds. It's this bizarre but absolutely necessary little mathematical hack to account for the slightly slowing rotation of the Earth, giving us an impeccably accurate foundation.
And the technical architecture here works on a beautifully simple premise. Positive time offsets are mathematically assigned to regions east of the prime meridian, and negative offsets go to regions west. It's an elegant, deeply logical system. If you travel east towards the sunrise, you add hours. If you travel west, you subtract them. Every single piece of modern technology you own right now, from your smartphone to massive global financial servers, operates on this exact underlying UTC math to keep the world perfectly synced. But if the math is so perfect, we have to ask again, why aren't the lines straight?
Well, it's because as perfect as UTC is inside a computer system, human beings actually live on the physical Earth. Instead of following pure astronomy, time zone boundaries violently zigzag to accommodate human-made political borders, internal state boundaries, and incredibly complex economic and trade reasons. Think about it. If a purely mathematical time zone line cuts straight through the dead center of a city or slices a single country perfectly in half, it causes bureaucratic nightmares. So governments choose to bend standard time to ensure that people living in the same region, under the same government, or working in the same local economy are operating on the exact same clock. Time, in essence, bends to the will of human commerce and governance.
Take the region around Phoenix, for example. They have incredibly unique timekeeping rules specifically driven by local state boundaries and economic alignments. While most of the United States springs forward and falls back, the state of Arizona mostly just ignores daylight saving time altogether. But within Arizona, the Navajo Nation actually does observe it, meaning you can literally drive in a straight line and change time zones multiple times within a single state, entirely because of jurisdictional borders and local economic decisions. It's wild.
And that naturally leads us into some of the most extreme case studies out there.
Because geography gets genuinely weird here. India operates on a half-hour offset at UTC plus 5.5 hours, mainly because they decided to unify their massive population under a single time zone by splitting the difference between their east and west coasts mathematically. But then you have Nepal, eager to assert its distinct national identity and independence from its giant neighbor, setting its clocks exactly 15 minutes ahead of India. It's completely rare, a 45-minute offset. It has nothing to do with the sun. It's a bold geopolitical statement broadcast on every watch face in the country. Meanwhile, massive land masses like Australia and Russia have to juggle incredibly complex variable offsets. Russia spans so much territory, it has to manage a staggering 11 contiguous time zones just to function day to day. But our most extreme example brings us to the record-breaking number 12. Now, you might think Russia, being the largest country by landmass, holds the record for the most time zones in the world. But actually, scratch that, you'd be wrong.
It's France. France actually commands 12 distinct official time zones, literally the most in the world, and it's entirely because of its globally spread out overseas territories. While mainland France and Europe operates on just one single time zone, the nation includes territories in the Caribbean, South America, the Indian Ocean, and the Pacific. From French Guiana to Tahiti to Reunion, the sun literally never sets on French timekeeping. It is a fascinating remnant of historical geography that is very much still alive in our modern standard of time.
On the complete opposite end of the spectrum, we have the number 1. And this brings us right back to that incredible anomaly we talked about at the very beginning of this explainer. Despite covering 5 distinct geographical zones, China mandates just one single official time zone for the entire country, Beijing time, which is exactly why those people in Kashgar have to adapt to waking up in complete darkness at 10 a.m. After the Chinese Civil War, the government abolished the 5 historical time zones to promote national unity. So everyone from the eastern seaboard of Shanghai all the way to the mountainous borders of the west sets their watch to Beijing. For the people in Kashgar, this means the natural solar day is completely, wildly out of sync with the official clock. Schools, businesses, transport schedules, they all have to creatively adapt to this intense imposition of political time over astronomical time. So what does this mean for the future of time zones? Well, the map we have today is by no means permanent. Ongoing debates around the usefulness of daylight saving time, the dominance of easily updatable digital clocks, and rapidly shifting global economies mean these political boundaries could absolutely still change. We're already seeing regions within the European Union and the United States aggressively debating just eliminating daylight saving time altogether. And since we really don't rely on mechanical watches that need manual adjusting anymore, shifting a time zone boundary today is literally as simple as pushing a software update to our phones. As trade partnerships shift and remote work creates a truly globalized economy, the incentives for countries to align their clocks are only going to grow stronger. To wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this final, powerful thought that really summarizes our whole journey today. Time isn't just an astronomical rule. It's geography, politics, economics, and history, all perfectly combined. The next time you look down at your phone to check the hour, remember that you aren't just looking at the rotation of the Earth. You're looking at a living, breathing map of human history. As technology continues to collapse distance and globalize our world, we have to ask, will we eventually tear down these temporal borders entirely and just share one single universal clock?